On this edition of Shelby This Week, a regional conversation targets Macomb County's most pressing issues: roads, deteriorating infrastructure, and allegations of corruption, challenges facing the county in the year ahead. And one of the biggest challenges is the sinkhole sitting on 15 Mile in Fraser. We'll tell you what's being done to help the families directly affected next. And rumors are swirling about a set of venomous snakes that some say were loose in the Nature Center. We'll tell you the true story coming up. We'll tell you about all of those stories and many more right now. Hello and welcome to Shelby This Week. You may notice I have a co-anchor today. Our Nick Buckler will be joining me at the desk for the rest of the month.
That's right, and the reason why, well, we did have a little friendly wager when the Patriots won the Super Bowl. That landed me, well, right here next to Kelly to co-anchor the news. So let's get right into it. Topping our news this week, several communities came together for the annual Community Leaders Breakfast.
Everyone from the mayor of Fraser to our own supervisor was there to speak about their cities and towns. The topics on the panel ranged from the sinkhole on 15 Mile Road to the work all communities are doing on their infrastructure, which is something Shelby Township continues to work on.
But you can talk about failing infrastructure, but until you actually start putting money away, then it just becomes talk. So we'll continue budgeting for roads. We'll continue budgeting for our infrastructure underground and what have you. And the more we do that, the more we'll be ready when there is a catastrophe.
Supervisor Stathakis also talked about how he continues to make sure the township remains fiscally conservative while still supporting the important entities like the police and fire departments.
And Macomb County's biggest power players sat down to discuss regional challenges facing the area, from the failed Regional Transit Authority to living in their communities to the sinkhole in Fraser.
And our Charlie Cadotto explains how county leaders are planning their busy years ahead.
A regional conversation hosted annually by the Sterling Heights Regional Chamber brings 5 of the county's biggest power players to discuss challenges they face in the year ahead: deteriorating infrastructure, headlines that won't go away, and of course, some of the most crumbling roads in southeastern Michigan. Luckily on roads, a solution is on the way this spring.
We're looking at all the way from Hall Road near M53 going eastbound all the way to Romeo Plank, and they're going to be tearing it up. It's a complete rebuild.
But some of these regional issues still facing roadblocks and are far from a rebuild, including recent disgraceful headlines about allegations of public corruption. The FBI says it's a systematic problem in Macomb County.
Public trust in public officials is very low, and deservedly so for some.
The Sterling Heights mayor says these allegations are a huge distraction from the challenges facing this region.
It gives Macomb County a bad name, and that's really the worst part about it. We're trying to attract residents to Sterling Heights and Shelby, Macomb County, businesses, and when they see the headlines that, some politicians are taking bribes, taking money, it doesn't look good for the county.
The breakfast, though, left many of the controversial topics out and tried to focus on more vanilla issues. Much of this conversation centered around one of the county's smallest communities, but one of the area's biggest problems: the Fraser sinkhole, now affecting 11 communities in Macomb County. Shelby Township residents being asked to conserve water.
It's owned by the Mid. It is not owned by Fraser.
Shelby Township is one of the communities also being asked to help foot the bill. Supervisor Rick Stathakis says he has no idea how much it could cost. He says it's too early to talk money because the sinkhole is still in its emergency phase.
And I think once we have a better understanding, and then of course when we actually do know how much it costs, well then we can talk more about it.
I'm told repairs could cost at least $80 million, up to $100 million to fix. The specifics are still unclear.
Those are ongoing negotiations. They haven't broken down, so to me it sounds like things are progressing. I don't know if they've reached the numbers that everybody's agreeable with, and that's a county issue.
But one thing these leaders can agree on: the need to fix infrastructure now and avoid a massive problem like this from happening again. For Shelby This Week, I'm Charlie Cadotto.
And because a major topic on the Community Leaders Breakfast was the sinkhole, Public Works Commissioner Candace Miller was in attendance. She is expected to speak at the Board of Commissioners meeting this week to request a $20 million loan from the county to the MID to pay for capital expenditures and expenses. Most of the families affected by the drain collapse that caused the sinkhole were able to return home, but that's not the case for 3 of those families. So while we had Mayor Nichols with us at the breakfast, we asked him what was being done to help those families.
Fraser's definitely an advocate for our residents. The county did not run from the problem. As you saw, Executive Hackle and Commissioner Miller stepped up and said, we're going to do what it takes to make these families whole. But what I do know is that the county is in negotiations. They are working with them. They are, at this point, my understanding is those are ongoing negotiations. They haven't broken down, so to me it sounds like things are progressing.
No word yet on if that loan money would be used to help those families.
It had been rumored that 2 venomous snakes were brought to the Burgess Shadbush Nature Center last week, but it turns out it was all just one big misunderstanding.
We received a referral from the Detroit Zoo. A gentleman called and said he had a unfortunate circumstance. He needed to get rid of a few snakes.
A young man from Waterford had passed away with 2 venomous snakes needing a place to go.
There were 2 snakes, a western diamondback and an eastern diamondback rattlesnake, that we would not be keeping in the nature center, and they were picked up and taken to a different area where they'll live a wonderful life, but in more of a secluded area contained.
It is, however, an honor that the Detroit Zoo thought of the Burgess Shadbush Nature Center when trying to find a suitable place for these snakes to go.
We're very thankful that the gentleman contacted us and sought out an alternative to releasing any kind of wildlife.
Township police are investigating 2 cases of dead bodies found in Shelby. A man in his late 50s was found last week on February 8th in the area of Hickson and Auburn Roads. We do know the autopsy has been completed, and now we're waiting for those results to be released. 2 days later, officers were called to another deceased person in the same area. This man was also in his 50s. Police say both bodies showed no signs of obvious trauma and nothing suspicious was found in the area, meaning they were not attacked in any way. They also say 2 cases are unrelated. We will continue to keep you updated as more information is released on our Shelby TV Facebook page.
A man originally accused of firing shots at police here in Shelby Township is now facing even more time behind bars after admitting to supplying a Tennessee drug ring. 48-year-old Bobby Joe Grimes will be sentenced in March in a U.S. District Court. He pled guilty to conspiracy to distribute oxycodone. He says he stole more than 4,000 pills from a pain clinic in the Detroit area and then shipped them to a drug ring in Tennessee for a payout. You may remember Grimes from this barricaded gunman situation we covered back in November of 2014. He held them at bay for 2 hours inside a home on Greenview Street near Ryan and Auburn Roads. In this case, he was on an April pretrial on several charges including attempted murder and resisting arrest. For the drug charges, Grimes is facing 20 years in prison.
The Township's Planning and Zoning and Parks and Recreation departments are rolling out their 5-year recreation plan in order to apply for more state grants. And thanks to a survey answered by more than 600 residents, they're ready to roll on it.
The plan will provide more recreation opportunities, preserve natural features, and ensure neighborhoods are adequately served and expand the parks in our area. The plan also includes some projects like Gene Shepherd Park Splash Pad and improvements to the Iron Bell and Macomb Orchard trails.
And we can't wait for those to happen.
Oh, they're going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Next on Shelby this week, sustainable gardens. We'll hear from an expert on ways to avoid pesticides in your garden and find out how you can join a club that will keep you fit and keep your flowers blooming.
And raising money for a good cause. Find out how our firefighters are raising money at an annual fundraiser for burn victims. Stay tuned.
I'm 1 on Lucky Guide. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
Welcome back. The Shelby Township firefighters hosted their annual fundraiser, Red Hot Night. At the Valentine's dance, there was raffles, door prizes, dinner, and lots of dancing. All the profits were donated to the Great Lakes Burn Camp, which is a camp designed for burn victims, especially children. Last year's event raised more than $16,000, which the event organizers hope they surpassed as they continue to tally the proceeds.
It's hard to imagine, but at some point, this snow will melt and it will be time to start planting. So to help get people ready for spring, the Shelby Gardeners Club hosted a sustainable landscaping lecture at the Nature Center. Jan Coppola-Bills, a noted author, spoke about how to sustain your garden, a topic she knows a lot about.
I'm very much into sustainable gardening, which means that we're doing things that aren't going to be harmful to the environment, and not only sustaining the garden, but sustaining the gardener.
She also spoke to the group about how to keep your garden without using any poisonous or harmful.
Well, I never use pesticides, herbicides, anything like that. I think right plant, right place, mulch and compost, and you're good to go. You don't need anything more than that.
As previously mentioned, this lecture was hosted by the Gardeners Club because they want to teach people about making the most of their gardens in the second half of their lives. And the group is always looking for new members.
Many people enter because they perhaps now have more time in their hands through either retirement or they just choose now to do a community service. And no, we guide people. You do not need to know anything about gardening, and you will learn.
The Gardeners Club will be bringing more people to speak as well. One of those lectures will be Best Year's Garden, Next Year's Garden, Planning for the Future. For information on those lectures and events and how you could join the club, head to shelbytwp.org.
Shelby Township had its own stop on the Underground Railroad, and we were able to learn all about it from a professional storyteller. Lois Spring Nether-Keel shares history as a passion and part of her career. She came to the Township Library to tell historical stories, but not from the perspective of famous people, but from the perspective of people like you and me.
I find that the average person, if you look around, there's a lot of average people with a lot of worthwhile stories to tell.
Keel started with the Flint Storytellers and gathers information in any way she can when preparing for a storytelling event.
I've looked in letters that the family had. I've looked at that, some of which were at the Burton Historical Society. I've gone to the Utica Library and read the microfilm as much as I can manage to sit through of the Utica Sentinel. And the family have also helped me too. And then people sometimes will share something with me in the audience.
Keel told the story of Liberetta Lyric Green, whose family ran the Underground Railroad station here in Shelby. Green's parents were also abolitionists and pioneers in Michigan in 1835.
For car enthusiasts, Detroit's Autorama is rolling back to Cobo Center. Now that they're done with the auto show, this year's special 65th anniversary of Autorama will feature 800 classic cars and custom hot rods. And there's even some Shelby Township residents who will be bringing their cars to the show. The show is from Friday, February 24th to Sunday, February 26th, and admission is $20 at the door for adults, $7 for kids. For more information on parking and times of the show, head to www.autorama.com.
And one of the biggest events in Shelby Township is coming up, and this year it's going to be bigger and better than ever. This is from last year's Relay for Life. This year, the event will be expanding to include the Sterling Heights and Utica, who have seen a shrinking number while Shelby Township continues to expand. It will be called Relay for Life of Greater Shelby Township. This year it will be on May 20th through the 21st. Raising money for the event will be a fundraiser called Tune Out Cancer. It will be on Saturday, February 25th from 1 to 5 p.m. at Steiny's Restaurant. And stay tuned in the coming weeks. We'll be talking with those planning Relay for Life, and we'll tell you how you can get involved in one of the biggest fundraisers in the area.
Still to come on Shelby this week, dads and daughters dancing the night away. we'll show you scenes from a special date night held here in Shelby Township.
And he's one of a select few, how a local high school student will be going to one of the most prestigious academies in the country next.
Hi residents of Macomb County, I'm your Chief Animal Control Officer, Jeff Randazzo, and I just want to take a moment and talk to you about the Gibraltar Trade Center adoptions. One, we're very thankful to Gibraltar Trade Center for allowing us to do adoptions, and ever since its inaugural grand opening on August 29th, we have adopted out more than 50 animals every Saturday from 10 to 2. So if you are looking for a pet or family member, we'd love for you to come there. Again, it's Saturday 10 to 2 over at Gibraltar Trade Center in Mount Clemens. And we bring all the animals, the homeless animals, here from Macomb County Animal Control that were picked up in your community. So it's your way of getting involved, and thank you for all your support. We truly are blessed to have you here.
Not many people love winter and snow, but how can you not love this weather when you're at the Utica Ice Festival? This year's Ice Fest was held outside City Hall, where there was music, ice sculptures, ice carving contests, and lots to do at the public library. The event continues to be a successful one every winter as the community continues to come out and support it.
Utica is a historic town. Although it is a small downtown, it has kind of a nice little vibe to it. Some good restaurants down here. So I think it's a good way to kind of attract the community.
Residents from all over Macomb County also gathered to watch the fireworks show from the courtyard, even in the cold weather.
And in sports, the Eisenhower girls basketball team took on Dakota in the MAC Red and White tournament. And Utica's boys basketball team went up against Port Huron Northern. We've got the highlights from those victories.
The last game before going into the MAC Red-White tournament. The Utica Chieftains take on the Port Huron Northern Huskies. No one could stop Matthew Barovic. He was their top scorer with 23. The Chieftains countered with a heavy dose of Amari Miller, topping Utica's scoring with 17. And backing up Miller was both Cameron Mitchell and Gabe Garbarino, both with 8. The captain for Port Huron Northern, Billy Filco, pulling up from the free throw line. The Chieftains were opportunistic on defense tonight. Kevon Higdon knocking this one loose. Fast break and finishing it off himself. Patrick O'Connor knocking down a long two-pointer. Going into the fourth quarter, Utica will be leading 37-24. Billy Filco with 3 more of his 8 on the night. And finally pitching in for the Utica Chieftains, David Frick, the bucket and the foul. And the Chieftains will take this one. Final score, Utica Chieftains 52, Port Huron Northern Huskies 42.
First round MAC tournament action as your Lady Eisenhower Eagles travel to Dakota to take on the Cougars. Alexis Smith sparks the Eagles with her defensive prowess as she picks off this pass and quickly gets up the floor for the easy lay-in. The Cougars would show off their passing skills as they work the ball inside to Taylor Williams, and Williams puts it up off the glass and in. The Eagles would start to show off their range from deep as Sabrina Ravenet knocks down the corner 3 off the nice feed from Lauren Dubois. Jamae Simmons works the ball inside and buries the off-balance hook shot. And the Cougars would continue to work the ball inside as Williams sets up Lauren Salazay, and Salazay gets the hoop and the harm. The Eagles would start to pull away before the half thanks to this and one from Lauren Dubois. The Eagles would take an 8-point lead into the locker room, and Dakota would start chipping away at the 8-point lead to start the third quarter as Williams finishes this fast break with an easy layup. This time Williams gets the offensive rebound and puts it back up and in, and the Cougars would only find themselves trailing by 2 early in the third quarter. But that's as close as the score would get as the Eagles would eventually pull away going on to win by a score of 61-51.
When he was 7 years old, he would play Army with his friends, and now Gurjuan Chahal from Shelby Township will be one step closer to his goals now that he's been accepted into the U.S. Military Academy, West Point.
The Utica High School senior is among only 1,200 students to receive this honor, and in order to get into the academy, he started his application process back in April, which is a lot more intense than your average college application.
That's right. This included essays, fitness tests, checkups, optical exams, interviews, and letters of recommendation. Those he got from Senator Debbie Stabenow and former Congresswoman Candace Miller. Finally, in November, he heard the good news, receiving his letter of assurance, or otherwise called an LOA.
I was really just elated. I ran yelling to my dad. I said, "Hey Dad, I got my LOA." And it was just excitement. My dad called my mom and my sister, and we were just so happy just to know that everything came to fruition.
Chahal is a valedictorian, is in active National Honor Society, and has captain of his JV and varsity soccer teams. With all those accolades, he still remains honored and humbled with the acceptance into West Point.
I can't explain it in words. I was just so excited, and I'm humbled to know that me, along with the other 1,200 cadets, that we're going to go and then we're going to form like a family, a strong family together, and that we're going to be there learning, leading, serving our country all together. And it's just a humbling, exciting experience though.
As part of his admission, he's also earned an academic scholarship that is valued at $210,000 for the 4 years. Congratulations. It's a day that every little girl dreams about.
And no, we're not talking about her wedding day or prom. It's the annual Daddy-Daughter Dance at the Cherry Creek Banquet Center. It was a night of dinner and dancing for fathers and daughters of all ages.
Every girl was given a beautiful flower from the Parks and Recreation Department, and keepsake photos were also sold to capture the memory as well. And of course, there was lots of dancing. The mother-son dance will be at Cherry Creek on Wednesday, March 8th. And that's it for us here at Shelby this week. You can watch us all the time on shelbytv.org.
And don't forget to like us on Facebook. Just search Shelby TV. We'll leave you now with more scenes from the Daddy-Daughter Dance.
Enjoy, and thanks for watching.